exploring the latest insights for the CO2 to methanol solutions, Power Info. Today features this interview straight from the World Hydrogen Week in Copenhagen, Denmark, with Ms. Lotte Rosenberg, the CEO of Carbon Recycling International, the global leader in CO2 to methanol technology, with over 200,000 tons per year of installed sustainable methanol production capacity. To date, we are the only company in the world to have realized dedicated CO2 to methanol conversion plants at commercial scale.
Hi, this is Sushant Gupta here from Power Info today, and we are here with Lotte Rosenberg from Carbon Recycling International. First of all, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you've been a stalwart. I must say that you have been a stalwart in this industry, and considering the fact that what you've done over the past years, what are your views on energy as of today?
Well, yes, it's true. I've been in the energy sector since 2007 and dealt with everything from power plants to trading, to infrastructure, to renewable fuels. And we've seen, of course, a major energy transition from the fossil-based fuels over to a great hydrogen boom. But unfortunately, the development of the green hydrogen industry has not developed completely as expected. But we do still see, quite a lot of interest and a lot of money, especially from the European Union. Of course, North America is coming, and the rest of the world we see as well, especially China. So what I'm seeing is a very big demand for, the green transition. But I'm also seeing still a very large premium on the e-fuels. We saw a very good cost out for the offshore wind, onshore wind, and solar has come down, right? So they are basically not reliable on subsidies anymore most places.
Okay.
This is the development that we still need to see in the hydrogen and hydrogen derivatives economy. And we're still not there to provide the framework to start this cost out journey and making it more affordable.
Okay. So do you really think that if we talk about geography, because obviously we talk about the regions.
Yeah.
So there would be certain regulations which would be very specific to those regions.
That's right.
So what do you think is your perspective as far as those regulations are concerned? So probably regulations in China might differ from what regulations are there in Europe.
Yes.
So what is your view on that?
Well, my view is that if you're looking to develop hydrogen or hydrogen derivatives especially, it's quite important that the different regulations, they actually speak together. So, for instance, if you are an emitter and you need to get credits for your CO2 emission, you need to make sure that if you procure your, for instance, methanol, renewable methanol outside of Europe, you need to ensure that it complies, for instance, with the RED 2 and 3 scheme, the RFNBOs, etc. Then you have the North America with the IRA tax schemes, and they have other demands. Then thirdly, in China, they are very well aware that if they are to export their renewable methanols or ammonia or what else, that they need to comply. Hence, how you calculate the CO2 emissions and how you actually get the certifications is just extremely important. So with all the companies we are working for, we are actually providing a service to help calculate what you call the life cycle analysis.
Okay.
Because you don't want to pay anything, a green premium for a product, and then you take it to Europe, and then you're not actually able to utilize the emission savings that you thought you were, and you already paid a green premium for it. So actually having that more of a, because we need to have a global system where the registrations are, where you can provide a liquid product that you can trade and you can risk manage. That is how the gas and also now is progressing slowly on the renewable gases as well, with the certification system that you understand and that you can bank on. Yeah.
Okay. But is it going to happen anytime soon? What do you think would be the time frame for it? As you said, that it is happening, but it's happening slowly.
Yes.
So what do you think should be the time frame for it to get completely developed in loop?
That's a very good question. I do know that all the companies are saying the same. I think the EU are trying to provide further clarifications on the certification schemes. They've also now put out, requests for comments on how to actually use nuclear power, and I think it will be very interesting to see whether, hydrogen made out of nuclear power will actually be recognized as something you can certify, as it doesn't emit CO2. So there is a lot also of the built-in criteria for when do you actually perceive something to be renewable and where you can claim emission reductions. But I think that we would probably be looking to at least 2030. That would be my personal guess before we have some major developments.
And you've said 2030, so we assume that it's going to be there 2030 because that's the voice that she has. We talk about Carbon Recycling International now,
Yes.
and you've been associated with the company, and the company has been doing really well. What has been your viewpoint when it comes to the future of the company? What do you think, where the company is going now? Where do you see the company going in the next decade? What are your viewpoints on that?
Well, I think we've been quite fortunate with the CRI that we actually, as the only company so far, have been able to scale up our technology on the CO2 to methanol synthesis plant. And that we were actually, after having certified our first plant in Iceland, were able to scale it up in industrial size in China.
Okay.
And that has you can say made the foundation of further growth. So the strategy of the company will be to continue to license our technology, provide engineering services around it globally. But then we are working towards, and we are also developing more of a project oriented, where we are in it from the beginning.
Okay.
As if we were on the Go plant, we're also developing a project in Norway. So my vision for the company is that we will develop, especially to start with in Europe and North America, we will, be parties in co-developing and solely developing e-methanol plants.
Okay.
On the technology, we are the harder technology company with, patents, IP, surrounding several families in it. We will continue to look at the methanol and how we can, go into other kinds of fuels, looking into the methanol to jet, etc. So, continue to have a broad value offering and really following where the market is going as well.
Right, and I believe that since you've told me this, CRI, as you said, is doing a phenomenal job in this domain. Considering the geographies that we are talking about,
Yes.
Asia happens to be a big
Yes.
market. And are there any hopes that are pinned up on a particular location in Asia for CRI?
I think it's not a secret that China are moving incredibly fast on their renewable developments, and we're looking into some exciting news about that as well in the nearer future. And we really have to be aware, I think, in Europe and North America that they don't get too far ahead of us because they are working very dedicatedly and thankfully, to really bring down the CO2 emissions. Right. I also, we can see that the Middle East are moving. We can see also, that India, we have several, interesting leads there as well. So I do believe that a large part of Asia, naturally Hong Kong, Singapore as well, we see that these things are developing, albeit a bit slowly because they still need the regulation to follow.
Right.
It's the same in South America. But there is, and often many places, they have very good resources for renewable power. A lot of the countries have an abundance of biogenic CO2. Mm-hmm. You also can see synergies by, progressing further into, the biomethane, the waste incineration, where you can capture a lot of the CO2 from there and utilizing that. So I'm really an advocate for trying to target a more circular economy,
right,
where you can actually, attack the waste problematics. You can move over to more energy efficient and low carbon fuels, etc. So really trying to get a holistic view on it and making sure that the necessary infrastructure investments follow that as well. Yes.
Okay, and now if we talk about this event in particular, I was talking to some people. I mean, I was talking to one of the people here and told me that it's been pretty good. It has actually worked out pretty well for them. What has been what is your view on this? I mean, how has the event been? What has been is the roadmap for the next decade laid here?
I think, first of all, I think it's a nice conference. It's what I would call a bit of more of a boutique conference because you have not so a large
Yes.
exposition room. But I think that the companies that are presented here in Copenhagen are very relevant companies. We've had an enormous interest in this booth. Visitors constantly had some very nice discussions with potential partners and customers. But it's not a secret, that many of the hydrogen and e-methanol plants are struggling with, the levelized cost of hydrogen, methanol, the willingness to pay. So, there is an enormous interest and a lot of money being put into it. But we need, the regulation to follow. We need to bring down the green premium to ensure that we can make the long-term offtake agreements that make the projects bankable. So I hear a lot of the same, you can say, issues or bumps on the road that we all need to overcome to move it forward. Yes, but yeah.
As you said that they're very relevant. The audience is very relevant.
Very
in this,
relevant. Yes, very
exhibition.
serious. People are. There's less chit chat and more, let's come to the point. What are we looking at? Who are the relevant technology providers who can move us further along the journey, right? So I think which I think is very positive. We need to have a very focused view, and we also need to have a good look at which projects are the best ones that should proceed and actually materialize as well, right? So, yeah.
Right, and I'm sure that with the work that you've been doing in your past experiences and with you being at the helm, I'm sure that CRI is going to be prospering even more.
Thank you.
Thank you so
I very
much for your
hope so.
time, Rocky.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.